Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are Podcast.
This is Camp Slash Horrorcast Season 2, Episode 15, Dead and Buried.
If this is your first time checking out the podcast network, we appreciate it. Please head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast Network a like. And just a reminder, Camp Slash Horrorcast is a weekly live videocast available on Twitch and YouTube. We go live every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv/We Are Podcast Network and youtube.com/We Are Podcast Network. As the Camp Slash Horrorcast is live, I will not be editing the audio for this podcast. So what you saw live is what you get here. Please come watch the stream every Monday at 8 p.m. And if you want to see the previous streams, go check out our Twitch or YouTube channel. And for a full list of future films we'll be watching, please head over to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. All links can be found in the description. And with that, on to the Horrorcast.
Camp Slash Horrorcast.
Alright, hey everybody, welcome to Camp Slash Horrorcast, where we talk horror movies from the past, live on Twitch every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time. I am your head camp counselor, Duck. I'm here with other head camp counselors. We have, we're just going to go with the names today. Jay McClintock. Jay, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Been me a long weekend, but I'm feeling good now. Nice and ready to rock.
And if you want, we'll do it. Dan, I'm dead. Please bury me, McClintock. There we go. I didn't have the quotes brought up. And we have also David. Call it black magic. Call it a medical breakthrough. I'll take the secret to my grave, Jessup. David, how are you, sir?
I am spent. We had to run around all day today. Went to that Jurassic World exhibit, which was awesome, and it was so hot everywhere. I am just drained. So I'm so glad to talk this movie that I haven't seen in a very long time. This is nostalgia crack for me, y'all.
Nice. Tell us more about Jurassic World exhibit. What was that?
It's super fun, man. It's this giant building over there up in Frisco next to, or like kind of Frisco-ish colony next to Nebraska Furniture Mart. And it's a big exhibit of, the dinosaurs from Jurassic World. And they've got, several giant animatronic. We got a T-Rex, a Brontosaurus, and it's like from the movie, man. The animatronics are amazing. So it's super cool.
That's freaking awesome, man. I'd like to go check that out. Is that next to the museum that has the National Video Game Museum, or is that somewhere different?
I don't know, man. It's up there at Grandscape, so it's right next to Nebraska Furniture Mart up there at 121.
I'm telling you right now, if you're listening, you've never got a chance, and you're in the DFW, go to check that out, of course, but also go check out the National Video Game Museum because it is freaking awesome.
Cool.
You went to a Legacy Food Hall too, right?
Yeah, that's where we used to do our brewery tours.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was.
So is it like a giant food court basically?
Yeah, it's 3 levels, and it's basically a giant food court with a bar. They have a brewery on the 3rd floor that we used to do the tours at before COVID shut everything down. But yeah, man, I had a really, really good food. Lindsay had a waffle cone full of macaroni and cheese and chicken fingers and shit.
Snap.
My inner 7-year-old is.
Oh, I highly recommend it, man. It's really cool.
Screaming for that. That sounds amazing.
That sounds amazing. Well, speaking of nostalgia, so basically what we're looking at is a movie called Dead and Buried, which was David Jessup's pick, released on May 29th, 1981, with a running time of 92 minutes, box office of 216,000.
Ouch.
Yes.
Ow.
So this is probably more of a cult movie. I would think so. I've never heard of it, but we'll talk about our feelings on it afterwards. And I do think it has cult status, especially for Stan Winston's makeup effects, I think at least. So synopsis: Potter's Bluff is a quiet town on the U.S. West Coast, but strange crimes begin to happen. The sheriff investigates the evidence, but the evidence aren't enough. Okay. Until his wife, who teaches witchcraft to pupils, and the Undertaker give him indirectly some hints. All right. So that's the basic synopsis. I feel like this was a bit of a Twilight episode kind of situation. M. Night Shyamalan-ish twist at the end. Major spoilers. If you're going to watch this movie, which I will say right off the bat, I suggest you watch it going in knowing only what I told you. Going in completely blind is the way to watch this movie, and it is worth it. The first 40 minutes drag a little bit, but that second half picks up and it really, really makes it work. So definitely, like I said, a bit of a Twilight zone going on, but I think going in blind was the way to do it. What do you think, Jay? Same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I'm fresh off of a view of it. Watched it last night right before I went to bed, so I really got to marinate over it in my sleep. It definitely has its strengths. I think definitely one of the strongest things, like you mentioned, was Stan Winston. You really see like the beginnings of greatness. Was like along with like that arm you see at one point, and how that translated into the Terminator a few years later, and you could just tell that there were seeds sown in that regard. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely agree with you. David, you got history with it. What's your history?
So this is a kind of like Alien in that this was one of those movies that was on HBO back when I was like in the 80s, staying at my mom's house over the summer, and she would work nights, and I was just left by myself. No friends, no one to hang out with, being a young kid, and I would just watch HBO constantly. And this was one of the movies where HBO would give you a booklet every month. I actually have a bit about that. They would mail you a book every month, and it was like a little TV guide. And I'll never forget seeing the poster for Dead and Buried. And I just thought that was one of the coolest movie posters I'd ever seen. Because I never heard of the movie either. I mean, this movie, it doesn't even really have cult status. This movie is one of those movies that I really feel like it should have gotten more play and more love than it actually ever did. It kind of just went under the radar. I have some issues with the ending. I think the ending could have been tighter, but I think the ending's a great ending. And I always love those movies like Children of the Corn, where you have a town that there's something wrong with it, and really this movie is really like a procedural cop movie in a way. It's a cop trying to figure out why are all these people suddenly dying, but the reason why I picked this movie is I absolutely love the ending. As a kid, I didn't see it coming, and I don't know if an adult I would have seen it coming, but I thought that was brilliant. And I also think it's devastating too when you see that it's his wife.
Yeah. I would say, and we'll talk more about the ending when we get there, I didn't see the ending coming. Jay, did you see the ending coming?
Unfortunately, okay.
Go ahead. You can get to the ending if you want. I mean, we already said spoilers. Real quick, what I want to do before we do that, I want to show the trailer for the movie. And there's a reason why. The trailer sets a tone that I, once again, feel, I never show trailers, but I feel like we need to watch this trailer. And the reason why is I was watching something with Guillermo del Toro earlier, and he's like, not only do you need to watch the movie, you need to watch the trailer. And he was right.
He loves this movie, yeah.
Yeah. And so let me show this real quick, and then we'll kind of get into what Jay thought and saw the ending coming. So just bear with me as I share the screen, and we'll talk a little bit about this. So I'm guessing, Jessup, you've seen the trailer before?
Oh, yeah. HBO used to play this all the time.
Okay,
this is new to me, so this is a world premiere for me.
All right, let's play it.
This is the road to Potter's Bluff. Maybe you've been there. Clean, picturesque, full of old-fashioned friendliness. The kind of town everyone likes to visit. This is the road to Potter's Bluff. There is no road out.
Welcome to Potter's Bluff.
From the creators of Alien, terror brought down to Earth, dead and buried.
Is there any way whatsoever to reanimate people after they have died? To get them to walk around?
That guy.
I'm
the one
shocked they
he came to see me that last week. One that died after the car wreck. Yeah. I just saw him. Man, he's dead. The same guy.
Welcome to Potter's Bluff.
When you die, you expect to remain dead and buried.
You had a very close call. Just lie still. I'm gonna give you something. It's gonna make you feel even better.
When you die in Potter's Bluff, expect the unexpected.
And it shows the
From
poster.
the
That
poster's
poster.
so fucking cool.
Dead and buried. It will take your breath away. all of it. Dead.
Oh, a little blood
and
coming down.
buried.
All right, so basically that's what we're looking at. That very much sets the tone. Like I said, gives away the entire movie.
I know that is something that's pretty shitty, because that's, to me, like we talked about. We always talk about when did the batteries drop. To me, the batteries drop when you go into that store and they say, "Freddy, can you help them out?" And the guy they had just murdered is now working there as a gas station clerk.
Right.
You know, and also I think when you find out, because in the very beginning there's this murder of this guy by like 20 people, and then you see the people working in the town. You know, it gives you this uneasy feel, and the way they kill the people, it's very like the way they're filming it. It has this snuff feel to it, and later on you realize why they're filming it, but it's so creepy, and they do it so methodically and slowly. And the way they take pictures, it's like they're taking pictures of a family event. You know, it's not quick. It's very slow. And the old camera with the lights on it, you know, making that big buzzing sound, and it makes up this really creepy glow. You know, it's very nightmarish in a way.
I like what you said about taking family photos too, because they're taking morticians photos. They're taking the beforehand and the afterhand photos, or for the beforehand photos for what they need. But before we get into that, Jay, I want to know the ending. You saw the ending coming from a mile away, you said.
No, I didn't see it coming from a mile away. I will tell you this. I knew the ending as soon as the sheriff was watching the film. I knew 100% that that
would be him.
And that's unfortunate, because I think that after The Sixth Sense, it has kind of baptized the world to always be looking for a twist, and that's also retro. I wasn't going into it thinking that he was another zombie, but as soon as I saw the back of his head and they wouldn't show the face, I was like, "Yep, that's going to be the big reveal."
And wasn't that super creepy? The shot filming them, it was very like, it's such a creepy voyeuristic tone to it. Yeah, it's very voyeuristic.
I think part of what, and just you know, looking at it through 2021 eyes, I think this movie, unfortunately, suffers that curse of being the other movie. And I think also to that extent, it's even more the other movie. And if you really, really want to get technical, it might even be considered the other movie. And I'll explain. I'll explain it all. I'll explain my opinion of all.
What does the other movie mean?
Okay, so that basically means that this movie unfortunately came out as of a time where another movie came out and it was much more well received. It became much more mainstream. Prime examples of that would be Near Dark compared to The Lost Boys. The Thing compared to E.T. It's these unfortunate movies that had to unfortunately come out at the same time as another movie. And I'll explain the two movies real quick that came out literally right before this movie, you know, within the past couple of years. Number one, The Fog. Atmospherically, this movie really wants to recapture that murky coastal town type feel. I believe The Fog takes place on the East Coast, whereas this one takes place on the West Coast. And there's some lore about the town and whatnot, and so they're trying to figure that out. That's the first movie. The second movie, and it's unfortunate, again, it's, you know, beat that word into the ground, where you have the antagonist being played by a mortician, and the mortician came out 2 years before this movie in Phantasm with the tall man, where he's also taking townsfolk and putting them into barrels and turning them into diminutive drones, whereas this guy's making them beautiful and whatnot. There's a little bit of, you know, just a little bit of, you know, it feels like it was inspired slightly by the Phantasm. I wouldn't consider it a full-scale ripoff by any stretch of the imagination. I just think when you combine those two movies being so close, and they're both pretty commercially successful. I mean, The Fog made $20 million in 1980, which on a $1 million budget, that's
amazing.
That's crazy. And Phantasm obviously went on to become one of the most successful horror franchises of all time. And then finally, the third movie I'll say that it kind of borrows a little bit of tone from, and I think you could agree with me on this, Dave, is The Wicker Man.
Oh, totally. Yep.
The main character being a law enforcement officer,
trying to figure it out.
And then at the end, there's a big reveal, and everything for him changes.
Yep.
Whereas, in Wicker Man, he gets sacrificed. In this one, you find out he's just part of the chain. And I think that's the reason why this movie, it has maybe not even gotten into cult status.
Yeah.
Even though it does have a lot of things working for it.
Well, and for me, I enjoy it more than The Fog. I enjoy it more than Phantasm. I think it's a better movie. But talking about it not being cult status, if you look up video reviews of this online, the people that review it, they're like, this movie should be more popular than it is, because they're discovering it without ever hearing about it. And I mean, it's a pretty, when you have a low budget horror movie, it's a pretty good little horror. Again, I have some issues with the ending. I think it could have been a little tighter, but I think it's a great twist. I love the ending. I love the whole idea of him hunting and searching for this to happen, to find out what's going on. And then that last line of the mortician being like, looks like you need some help. Let me do some touching up on you. And I love that as the movie goes on, little things happen. Like you see the one kid using the paint to touch himself up. He was the assistant, stuff like that. And the fact that the Freddy shows up at the gas station is working there, little things like that I love the reveal as it goes along. And his wife, the Melody Anderson from fucking Flash Gordon.
She's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And the way she teaches that voodoo in that class is so fucking creepy. Yeah. And I think they really push you to her being the antagonist, like she's the real villain,
That scene right there is where I really got Wicker Man'd out. And the fact that there's that scene in Wicker Man where the teacher is talking about fertility and the old gods, and it just seems very perverted that she should even be talking about that. Yeah. And she does it well. And again, I don't feel like this movie in any way is intended to rip him off. I think if you're gonna borrow some tones from 3 movies, that's a unique hodgepodge to do, and it really works together. And here's a couple other things I found out. They say it's from the creators of Alien, but apparently George O'Bannon, Ed O'Bannon was more of just a consultant.
Yeah, and he got really pissed off because he was told he did all these changes, and Ronald Shusett was like, okay, I'll put him in, because Ronald needed Dan O'Bannon's name to get the project made.
Exactly.
Right.
And then Dan O'Bannon saw the movie and was like, motherfucker, none of this shit that I wrote is even in here. And he disowned it, which is a shame, because I think it's a pretty good movie, but he was pissed.
It's almost like almost like Kubrick and King with The Shining, and that it really was like his and only name only. And so by the time I got to the final distributor, it had enough cuts that and then also apparently the final distributor was like kind of upset with the product he was given. He compared it to like an Ingrid, it's an old Swedish I forget his name. Ingrid Bergman. That's the one. That's the term that was thrown out. And so they had to do even more cuts to it. And here's the interesting thing I feel about Dead and Buried. And again, this is there's a point where I'm like, I could use about 30 more minutes of this movie, because there's things I'd like to see more fleshed out. The family getting caught, I would like to see more of an aftermath of that, but at the same time, the more cuts they did, I also feel like if this movie had come out a couple of years later, it could have been a killer chapter in the Creepshow movie, because it's that movie that could have been condensed, and I think you could have gotten the story pretty well across. But I mean, I'll tell you what,
Twilight Zone movie. It would have been
absolutely
Twilight Zone movie.
I think what really, really works for this movie, and it's the tragedy of it. It's the fact that the mortician, played by Jack Albertson, was dying.
Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe. Awesome in this, man.
He was literally dying making this movie about death and resurrection. And this is his swan song. This was his final movie, and
he kills it, man. I mean, figuratively, he did awesome in it.
Yeah,
he's so kooky, and so he chews it up every time he's there. But he's really acting for his life. I mean, like, because he died 6 months after the movie was released.
yeah, his voice is so iconic. Just hearing him start to talk, I'm like, who is this? I was like, I know who this is, and I slowly put it together. And he is just a character actor and a half. Like, he's killing every scene he's in. He's wonderfully cast. He's creepy, but also there's a father figure type thing there, which is needed because these are his children that he's creating, his creations. And I was going to say the dialogue in this movie is not lazy. There's a lot going on, especially when he gets to wax poetic. And that's what kind of led me to think, yeah, this guy's probably the bad guy. He's got a bit of a complex here going on where, he feels very grandiose and he thinks very highly of himself for being the mortician of the town. But, when he's talking about making these beautiful creations, he says, I make souvenirs. I was like, that's really kind of a cool way to put this. You know what I mean? Do you guys think the movie works without the creature effects working so well? Well, not the creature effects, but I guess the Stan Winston effects. Do you think it elevates?
I don't think so. No,
I
think
no.
the Stan Winston effects are a character in this movie. I think you need the creature, and I think the scene for me that really sells it is the recreation scene where he has the girl that was the hitchhiker that was killed, and then he puts her together, and then she rises up. I mean, this is pre-CGI, and the way they were able to pull that off is amazing, and what a beautiful shot that is.
Yeah, the fact that they show the puppet, they show him putting in the eyeball, then they pan away for only a moment. He says, another beautiful creation, and it pans back down, and then it's replaced with the actual actress who is breathing in the scene, which I was like, okay, come on, what's going on? But anyhow, when she raises up, you're expecting it, but it's kind of great at the same time. What were you going to say, Jay?
No, nothing. No, absolutely. The special effects are without a doubt probably the real backbone of this movie. You can forgive a lot of plot holes and other things when things look pretty. And this movie, from a gore perspective, it looks pretty. I like pretty gore. A lot of people said that this is basically an American version of an Italian horror movie. And
I totally see that.
With that mix of beauty and gore, and let's not forget about Lisa Blunt.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude!
Oh my god,
so beautiful and so creepy. And I love. Are you guys watching Evil? The show Evil?
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, did you get to the scene or the episode where he's stuck in the hospital bed?
Oh yeah.
She reminded me of his nurse. That cool, calm. Oh, you look like you're in a lot of pain. Here, I'll fix you. And you're just stuck there and you can't move. It's horrifying.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's a huge strength of this movie is none of the townsfolk come off as corny.
No, not at all.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard to pull off in these small town horror movies.
Even the Freddy Krueger character, you get a sense that he might be the wacky, slow, dumb character, but he never does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another really fun, back you knew them when is another just great little, and he was a pretty fun part.
Lead actor turned out to be what's his name, James Ferrantino.
Yeah,
is that his name? He went on to do great stuff, man. He's a really good actor.
He screams well. He screams very well. He's a scream king in this.
Yeah.
He screams a lot. Yeah, I like you said about the town folks. They're zombies basically. They move slowly, they're taking the pictures. There's a great episode of Black Mirror which kind of apes this a little bit. Where they're taking video and taking with their phones. But I was like, what's with this voyeuristic kind of thing going on? And once you find out what it is, you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool. At the end of the movie, I was like, that's a cool twist.
And visually, that last scene in the mortuary with all the projectors playing at the same time,
bro,
beautiful.
That is beautiful looking. I had to clip that because I'm like even in a movie with so much grain in it, and I think the grain adds to it. Of it. I was
very blue movie.
Yeah, I was like, this is very cool. And at the end, whenever you see the projectors, I was like, this is almost space age shit. This is a beautiful.
And the sound of it, the sound of the projectors running, that clicking sound And that this, I am so, it's still today, it creeps me out, the footage. Because did you notice the footage of them when she kills him, the black and white footage? Did you notice the house is all run down?
Mhm.
So the house they're living in the movie is all pretty. But when they filmed it, when he gets murdered, it's run down. So that to me is like, oh, that house was like abandoned. And then he creates them and makes the lady his wife and makes his fake family and builds up this house. And so, yeah, it was, you start wondering how many real people are in the town.
Oh shit, you're so right. He was probably just coming into the town
Some dude,
as like,
yeah. He
yeah,
was
as
dude,
a
like,
tourist.
it was like, oh, look, this hot chick wants to have sex with me in this abandoned house. Yeah, I'll fuck her. And
You're
then all of a sudden he
right.
gets
It's
turned
the
into,
abandoned
like,
house. Yeah, dude. I didn't even put that together.
Not only that, I find it really hard to really label even the mortician as evil.
I don't. I mean, he's
it's really hard. He doesn't seem. I'll tell you what he's not. He doesn't seem sinister. Like it doesn't feel like he's trying to like.
He's a father figure, man. That's what he is. It's
well,
I
would say this. I think what happens is he gets out of control because he's made this town, but then it's like he had a good thing going, but then the murders start getting out of control where you have, wait a second, this guy over here got murdered and now he's burned. Oh, shit, he's still alive. We got to kill him. And then all of a sudden it starts building up, or now he's just straight up murdering people.
Well, here's the biggest plot hole of the movie, okay? He has total control over his creations. The creations can only say and do what he allows. That means he had to allow the sheriff to investigate the murders.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, it's
But see, I don't think it's a plot hole. I think he did it on purpose because I think he was creating this world and this was like a game to him, you know?
Or he was bored.
He was bored and he was like, you know what? I'm going to have this detective. Because not once was he ever worried about the detective finding out.
And not only that, you find out he himself is a zombie.
Yeah.
But he is the one zombie that but he is the one zombie that can reanimate and has autonomy. He is basically the god of this town.
Yeah.
Well, and you start to wonder like how many town folks are zombies, because obviously the doctor wasn't a zombie. He gets turned into one, but like how many other people were already zombies?
I would say the majority of them, once they show up at the end of the movie, that's it's a small, like he says, a town the size of a postage stamp. So therefore, it's got to be less than 500 denizens at the time or something like that. Maybe less than that.
That's a good SAT word.
I mean, thank you very much. I really like that idea though, that he is recreating the town and his image, and like maybe
Norman Rockwell. He's turning it into Norman Rockwell.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about that. That guy was probably just somebody who came to town and he got killed.
A hitchhiker. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that so much. And the kids obviously are zombies too, because they got little Jimmy or whatever who was part of the family.
That was so creepy.
And he shows up as part of that. My question is, and I guess he does it because he wants to create, but why does he let them kill them so brutally? Like the more challenging the recreation, the better.
Yes,
that's the arrogance. That's the need for. He needs to he says himself, he needs to deform them so that he can rebuild them the way.
Because remember the old lady he was working on? He was like, it's not that big a deal. He was kind of bored working on that old lady that just died in her sleep.
Yeah. I would say the family is the weakest part of the movie, even though the chase scene kind of works for me.
It didn't have to be. I think that's one of the bigger problems I had with the movie too, is that it didn't have to be. I love it was like you said, the chase scene is just so cat and mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So brilliantly done.
It actually holds tension, and whereas I thought it wasn't going to, but then at the same time I was bummed out because you didn't see their demise. But then I didn't know. I thought they got away. I really did. So when you see little Jimmy in the schoolroom, you're like, "Oh shit!"
The thing I didn't like about it, and I liked it less as an adult, and as a kid, it didn't bother me. But it's like, there's no fucking way I'm going into an abandoned house and going into the basement.
No, fucking idiots! It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre over again. It's a home invasion.
White people, what are you doing? I would like to say one thing about the ending that I would have much rather liked. I really don't like when Melody Anderson shows up and then she goes, "Oh no, I'm dead, Dan," and then she goes and buries herself, and there's that whole scene. I would have much rather have wanted that whole scene to be the reveal of him watching the video and getting stabbed and then realizing that he's a zombie. I didn't need that whole Melody Anderson thing burying herself. Was so, to me, it like really took me out. I didn't like it because I love the reveal of him turning over, you know?
Yeah.
But did you realize also, Dave, that her burying herself is basically the picture sake of the movie poster itself?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
And
visually,
it is dead and buried, you know, it is dead
Yeah, like
and
she
buried.
is like when she is descending into the mud. It's a beautiful scene.
No, it's a beautiful shot, yeah.
But yeah, when with the dirt, with the mud coming over,
Yeah.
I thought that was, because you look at that movie poster, doesn't it kind of give you some Salvador Dali vibes?
Oh,
absolutely,
totally, man.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
So-
gorgeous movie poster.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. And also that it's cool in that you see the townsfolk's disintegrating. You know, you see they're all kind of falling apart. But again, I just think it would have been a lot tighter if you just had the big reveal of him watching that film. You
But
know,
I think you need the
so creepy.
you need the town folks showing up. You need
Yeah.
that, and that could happen in that scene the way you're saying it too. But I think that that's what's striking about it is that they reveal themselves in such a way, and that they show that they have to go, and it's just minor little dents and bruises in the cracking of the paint on the face or
Mhm.
the prosthetics or the makeup or whatever. And that's what makes it interesting because you realize they need the mortician so much. They need him to be the father figure and to put him back
Fix
together
it.
and stitch
Yeah,
him
they gotta
back
be put back
together.
together.
And it's that's what's really creepy. And then once you realize how many people were in on it, you know what I mean? I just love the idea of this maniac running this town, his perfect little town, and it's just his plaything. And he's just
Yeah.
when people come in from out of town, you know, they're just added to the zoo that he's collecting. at
Yeah,
this
he's like, oh, you're going to be the newspaper reporter.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
You can be the postman.
You could almost wonder like how much of the town how far out does it go? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And in the synopsis that I was reading, it says that eventually there's going to be a zombie outbreak that would consume the world. I don't think it could keep up with that. So
Well, and that's the thing is I never, you know, a lot of people consider this a zombie movie. I think it's less zombie and more voodoo.
you're right. I would agree with that. Zombie was the best. I mean, well, isn't Zombie voodoo? Well, anyhow, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
But you're
Yes,
you're
yes.
talking zombie, like
Yes,
brain eating
Yeah, I'm
zombie.
talking. Yeah, when I say zombie, I always mean like Walking Dead zombie.
Mhm.
You know, this is like you're right because originally zombies in like in the 40s, like especially pre Night of the Living Dead, they were always associated with voodoo.
Right.
And so that's what I consider this more of the voodoo type of zombie.
And I also like that there's not an explanation for it. He's just like, I can do it. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
He
I figured it
is
out.
there somewhere in the movie where it talks about him? He went somewhere.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
The wife talks
the
about
telefax talks about how he got fired
because
from
he was
his-
messing around
yeah.
with bodies, which
Yeah.
you know, necrophilia.
Mhm.
Which I guess technically there is necrophilia in this movie. Now that I think about
Oh
it.
yeah.
I don't know. It's a solid movie. I think that seeing it now, even now, I appreciate it. Like I said, the first 40 minutes were kind of rough because I wasn't real sure how to feel about it. But it as a cohesive piece, it is pretty damn good.
I mean,
And
what did you think about the first kill? Because it is kind of jarring where it's like all of a sudden these people show up.
Oh yeah, thank you for bringing that up because the puppet, the upside down in the car,
Yeah.
and when he screams, I totally wasn't expecting that. I actually felt a sense of comfort in the back of my head. I was like, well, he's dead. And I thought in the back of my head, like, that thing ain't gonna move. And then when it moved, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I don't know what to expect in this movie. And what's wonderful is that's a puppet and it works. And even I watched it in slow motion earlier, it still holds up. You can't really tell it's a puppet. And then when he's in the life or he's in the cast, right,
Yeah.
from head to toe, that's a puppet. That's not an
Yeah,
actor.
I had
That's
no idea that was a puppet. That's
that's a
crazy.
complete puppet, the eyeball and the mouth
Yep.
and everything. And it looks so freaking real. Like it's acting. You buy that it's nervous and it's scared and that it is the actor. And I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. And then, of course, what I would can probably guess is your favorite scene, David, is the hitchhiker being reconstructed scene.
Oh, so beautiful.
That is just an awesome 2 minutes of footage. That is
And,
just
and
so
again,
cool.
it's so cool to appreciate it because it's pre CGI. You know, everything is done in camera and it's done
Yeah.
so well.
And that was Stan Winston himself doing the entire thing. Even
Yeah,
whenever
his
he was
hands,
manipulating the
his hands and
mouth and the eye socket, that was him. And they just moved out, and then they put Grandpa Joe in there, and he said his line, and that was it. It's just really cool. The practical effects just make this movie work so well.
Yeah. They're,
And
like
then,
I said, they're a character.
and there's not. I mean, it's weird that a murder mystery can exist within a movie who the murderers are. It's just bizarre, but like. I that's why I was kind of thrown off for the first 40 minutes, because he's trying to investigate it, not very well, by the way.
Yeah.
But he's trying to investigate it, and I'm like, I already know who the killers are. Like,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of mystery going on here.
I actually thought the movie was actually quite linear. I mean, I really didn't see a lot of twists to it until you find out that he's one of them, because that's like everybody else is a zombie. It's almost like they're all making fun of him. Like, this guy doesn't know he's a zombie.
Yeah, he doesn't.
We'll
even
play
know.
along. We're doing our part. I'm telling you, it really felt that way. It felt like a play at the end, where it's like all the townsfolk are like, okay, we got to play into the.
I think we're secretly finding out the secret of a good horror movie. A good horror movie could be a stage play. I think that we've said that over the last couple of casts.
The Fly.
The Fly could be it. We were even saying that about Evil Dead at one point, and which it is a stage play.
Yeah, it is a stage play. It's a musical.
So evidently, a good horror movie could also be a stage play. I think that's what we're learning. So when we make our horror movie, whatever, and on top of the one David's already making, we'll make sure that we make it.
If you have one location and 3 characters.
Yep, that's all you need.
It builds tension.
That's awesome.
What was it? Night of the Living Dead. We mentioned that before. That's a 1-location movie, basically 3 characters.
Totally holds up. We should watch that someday for the cast. Guys, what else do you want to say about the movie? Is there anything? I think we covered pretty much everything.
I think Jay hit it on the head when it came out, and there was too many other things that were similar and more successful around it. And it's weird because you would think a movie with the tagline from the creators of Alien would have gotten more love, and it's got a great ending. It's good acting, great special effects. I mean, in the 80s, you would go watch horror movies for the kills, and this movie has some great kills in it.
Right.
But it just never clicked, and it never got that love that I think that it should. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because I knew most people had never heard about this movie.
Never. I didn't know a thing about it, and I'm very happy you brought it to the table. I'm happy that we watched this because I enjoyed it immensely. Jay, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, like we talk about these more obscure movies, and I think that Dead and Buried, I think there's a couple of movies nowadays that you can definitely see were inspired by it. I think one of the biggest ones is Get Out.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if Jordan Peele tells me he never saw Dead and Buried, I just don't know if I could believe him. Especially what they do with the taking pictures.
Yeah.
When he comes across Freddy and he takes a picture and he's kind of like stunned like he is.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there's that. And then there's also obviously the zombifying, or you're reanimating and whatnot.
And Jordan Peele's he's a huge fan of the Twilight Zone, of course, because he remade it, and this movie's got Twilight Zone all over it.
All over it. Like the whole time I was, especially towards the end, I was like, this is a really long Twilight Zone episode. That's how I thought.
And I think it would have worked as like a short as well.
40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have worked either way. It's
and to go back,
do you think this movie could be remade today because of the whole small town aspect with the internet and everything like that? Would it be possible to remake this movie in a believable way, or would you have to remake it and have it take place in the 80s?
Damn, that's a good question. I don't think it could be remade. I don't know if it needs to be remade. A lot of these movies, I enjoy them for what they are.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you get people to watch them? You know what I mean? Say, hey, Dead and Buried's a really great movie from 1981. You know, it's hard to get somebody interested in that.
I'll use a prime example of that, Dave. I mean, they did remake The Fog.
Yeah.
And it was a steaming pile.
Yeah.
And I think it just because these movies belong in the 80s.
Yeah.
They don't really. I don't think, at least not the way it is. I mean,
the idea of a small town belongs in almost like in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Children of the Corn.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to make that. I think it could be done, but it's kind of hard.
This movie belongs. This is the type of movie that you would be at the video store in the 80s. And you would
Saw
see
that
its cover,
box.
saw the
Oh my
box,
God.
and had never heard of it, and you would rent it because of the box.
Yeah. If everything could have box art that good or a poster that good, we would have saw it already. That poster sells this movie. I literally put in the post on social media today. Look at this poster because it's so fucking good. Like it's so unique. And I think Jay said it earlier, it has that Salvador Dali feel to it. It's just a piece of art onto itself. I would put that on the wall. You know what I mean? It's just a beautiful poster. And it's nice that the movie is good enough that, you know, it backs it up. You know what I mean? But the poster almost feels like post-apocalyptic in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie, like I said, I love the fact that it's kind of set in place in its time. And now that we've talked about it, I love the idea of the mortician being this grand master of this, you know, this city that's playing out these little games because he's
It's
bored.
almost like when he moved to the town wasn't even a town.
Yeah.
And that he just
Abandoned
started collecting people. Yeah, it was like abandoned. And he started collecting people and then building up this town. And then
That's how you remake it. He has in his monologue, he explains that. It's wonderful he didn't because we're talking it out now.
Yeah.
But like you could literally be, when I came to this town, it was nothing but abandoned, and then goes into it. I can't do dialogue. the point is it's a wonderful, and I'm so happy that we talked it out and we got to that point because it just makes me appreciate.
Well, let me ask you this though. Do you think it would have been better if everybody in the town was a zombie? Because I'm kind of confused, not confused, but like the doctor wasn't a zombie. And so like, I'm like wondering like how many people weren't. Would it have been better if you find out at the end that everybody is a zombie? It's just that some of them know they are and some of them don't.
Well, maybe the doctor wasn't a zombie because they need him to be there to take care of the living. There's something about maybe being a zombie, it wouldn't work. You know, maybe the mortician doesn't have the knowledge because obviously these are his puppet people. He wouldn't have the knowledge that he needs to be a doctor. So maybe that's why they never changed the doctor until it was by, you know, they had to because
they had to because he was finding out. He was finding out. Yeah.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I think maybe a good closing shot, a good sweeping away closing shot where you literally just see every single person in the town with like
coming to the morgue to get fixed,
or cracks and just and like maybe an arm falling off there. Yeah, it would have probably been a little more comical, but like, you know, just it would have been so grandiose. But that probably would have cost a lot of money.
Yeah, I like the idea of the camera leaving the morgue, and as it pans out, all the town folk are slowly walking.
We could make that. We could make that happen.
Yeah,
just little splice it together.
I can Photoshop. Anything else, guys, about the movie? I think we pretty much covered everything.
I think if you're a fan of Stan Winston, I think this is definitely a movie you need to watch because you get to watch to be like Jay said, it's the beginning of greatness.
It's borderline classroom.
Yeah.
Like instructional. Just my head would be super big if I was Stan Winston there, just, you know, like just going to work, man. Stan Winston could have been a mortician.
I watched an interview with him earlier where he talked pretty extensively about these effects. And you can feel that he looks at these as like his first child. Like he's very proud. And he's like, I'm so happy that one worked. Like he was very concerned about the upside down puppet head at the beginning. He's like, it doesn't work upside down. You can't do it that way. And they did it that way anyhow. And he goes, I watched it again and it really worked. And I was like,
it's amazing. Well, it had that effect on you where you're like, there's no way this thing's going to move. And you're like, boom. And I love that too, because that sets up this dilemma. It's almost like the beginning of the doctor unraveling because the guy survived. And so now he's got to go into the hospital. And what a great scene with her killing him and then leaving, you know, and she was so amazing, man. She's so beautiful and sexy.
Yeah.
And that whole Vixen thing, you know, I love her seducing the cameraman.
It cracked me up. She's like, do you think I could be a model? I was like, bitch, you've been a model for years. What are you talking about?
She's actually, she's in another movie that came around this time, Officer and a Gentleman. And in the movie, she plays a local. She's trying to get herself an airman, and when her beau flunks out and tells her, "Hey, let's go back home, and I'm gonna go work at Target or whatever," and she's like, "No, I can't be with you." He ends up killing himself. So that's what happens when you disappoint Lisa Blount.
Also, I did want to talk about the interesting dynamic between the sheriff and Melody Anderson, because there was this weird thing of him he was like jealous of her and unsure of her, and he was always catching her in these little lies. And
well, she was lying.
Yeah, she was lying, and she was always blowing out. Oh, it's because you're the one that told the principal about that. Oh,
gaslighting.
Honey. Yeah, totally gaslighting.
Totally gaslighting.
Brilliant. And I love it at the end when she shows up and she starts repeating those same lines. What do you want for dinner, honey? Oh, hon, you can have whatever you want. From the beginning, it was so creepy. Again, very Twilight Zone.
And just think about that.
Stepford wife.
Yes. Yeah. Which, by the way, that's another movie that was remade and it was fucking awful. But have you ever seen Stepford Wives, Ducky?
I've seen the remake. I've seen the Frank Oz movie.
So you haven't seen the original?
No.
Dude, the original is amazing. Yeah. It's really
even
really
the sequel's not too bad.
Well, the sequel's more of a comedy, right?
Well, the sequel's
like dark comedy.
Well, the sequel's the good ending.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
The sequel's where the good guys win.
Yeah,
that's the big difference.
That's why I like the original ending.
Oh, those black eyes.
Yeah, so good.
That's so funny you mentioned that. This movie was originally supposed to be a dark comedy, but they cut out all the comedy stuff from it, and they went back.
This movie could have easily become, like I said, this movie with a few twists here and there could have easily been in Creepshow without a doubt. They could have, dude. It works so well with that comic book outlay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, well, they went back and they filmed the Seaman getting killed. They originally it happened off screen. They went back and adding the cutting in the neck and the face and stuff like that. And then they went and the only effect in this movie that isn't a Stan Winston effect is when the doctor gets pumped full of poison or acid or whatever it is. That is why it doesn't look as good.
Yeah. That looks like a mannequin.
And they tried their best, but that's not. It's not good. When we get to clips, it's clipped, of course, because like I always got to clip the murder. So we'll take a look at that. But with that said, recommendations. David, you're first. Obviously, you recommend.
I recommend this movie if it is. You have to go into it knowing you're watching a 1980s off the VHS shelf of your video store and watch it for it's got a great twist ending, and especially watch it because you're watching the beginning of the greatness of Stan Winston.
Right on. Jay, how about you? Recommend?
Oh, definitely. I mentioned all the movies I'd recommend earlier. Wicker Man, if you like that, if you like watching a cop, unravel a mystery. Phantasm, if you like evil morticians, and then The Fog, if you like foggy coastal towns.
Did you notice the foghorn in the background? How eerie that sounds. There was a lot of scenes in the background.
Yeah, there is something just kind of creepy with towns like that. It's a great setting. Even Wicker Man takes place on an island.
Yeah.
Another coastal town. Coastal towns just are innately just kind of creepy. And I think it's because of the whole lighthouse idea.
Yeah. Well, you feel like you're in a world away from everybody else.
Yeah. And then the whole world is out there too. And on top of that, it's easier to hide murders in a coastal town.
Yeah.
Just throw them in the ocean.
Especially when your mortician is a zombie man.
I will recommend this movie. I enjoyed it immensely.
Awesome.
At first, I was really bummed out because I'm like, I have to be like, I didn't like this. I'm gonna have to tell David that. And then it's kind of like when we tell Javi we hate anime. Like I think it's hilarious, but I also feel really bad. But like then I was like, oh my God, I actually enjoyed the fuck out of this. Like, so I would recommend.
And I'm glad that we talked about the footage of him in the abandoned house and how that's the house they live in now, and it was all done up.
It just adds so much more. It just adds another layer. It's so cool.
Hey everyone, it's just Duck jumping in here real quick to say thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you're enjoying it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast Network a like. And just so you know, the next section of the podcast will be clips from the movie, so you can find replays of the live video stream at twitch.tv/We Are Podcast Network and youtube.com/We Are Podcast Network. Once again, all links can be found in the description. Come check out our live stream every Monday at 8 p.m. And for a full list of future films, check out our social media. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And with that, back to the Horrorcast.
All right. With that said, let's get to some clips. Let's watch this. I actually clipped quite a bit of this movie, so hope you guys are ready to watch about 9 minutes of clips. The piano music, yes. You hear it?
Oh yeah.
Just beautiful theme.
Yeah, it has that old like Norman Rockwell feel to it.
I just really like that.
Pretty enough to...
All right, so Lisa Blout, is that her name?
Blunt. Yeah, I'm supposed to say. I think most people say Blunt.
Be a model?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's been a model before. I call BS on this.
Playboy. Beautiful.
Murder.
I love that the way that the net does that to his face. So creepy.
Yeah. Pushes his nose over,
Yeah.
makes him look just, yeah.
And their faces, the way they're doing it, you know, they're just so calm.
Still taking pictures real slow.
I know, man, it's so creepy.
That's great. All right, this upside down puppet just scared the shit out of me.
So great.
It's so awesome. All right, second murder, double murder.
Smile.
I thought she was holding a camera phone for a second.
What I love about it too is, can you imagine being the person being murdered and how horrifying it is as people are videotaping you?
Oh yeah, it's horrible. Now I want to say I forgot. There's something about those sudden flashes of light that are really unsettling to as a viewer.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, whether it's the idea of like the sudden flashes cause seizures. I don't know. I'm a little bit susceptible to that. It bothers me, or at least it bothers me, I should say.
Dad, can you replay this scene? I want to point out someone in here.
Sure. Let's go back.
I'll tell you
I
when to
think I know
pause
what
it.
you're gonna say. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Smile.
Old more shower. Yeah, go ahead and keep going. Right there, pause. Well,
Oh,
that yeah, back up.
I
It's
just
okay.
missed them.
Yeah. So that is a Dallas native, Lynn Morshower, in the
Oh,
redhead.
I missed him again.
He's one of those that guy actors.
So
He
this
has
guy,
been in
you talking about this
every-
guy right here?
Yes, absolutely.
So the
He's-
mortician's assistant.
Well, yeah, he's been in so much stuff. He's a Dallas native. He was on 24. He's been in a ton of movies.
Cool.
Probably have y'all seen X-Men First Class?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He's that general that Kevin Bacon kills on that boat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but he's also a Dallas native. I thought it'd be cool to do a shout out
Awesome.
to Big
Have you
D.
met him before?
No, Raj Sharma actually knows him really well, and he teaches a lot of acting workshops
Oh, cool.
apparently around Dallas. So I just thought it was cool when I was looking over the cast list. It's like, oh, that's cool. It was just cool to see someone that
Very nice.
from our little hometown here, or my little hometown here.
Yeah, I'm not a Texan, man, but I enjoy being here. Madman's Ranch.
Look at the work I've done. This is an art, and I am the artist. What can you remember about a sealed box? A sealed casket? That is obscene. That is the death of memory. The cosmetologist
line.
gives birth. I make souvenirs.
Oh, it's so creepy.
That's so awesome. And right there, I'm like, that guy's probably the bad guy.
Well, it's because he's the most eloquent speaker.
Oh, yeah. So he's got to be evil. Eye of the Needle.
Hi. I'm so glad to see that you're feeling better.
I had
That's
no
a
idea that was
puppet.
I had
That's
no
a
idea.
puppet.
It's gonna make you
You couldn't tell me right now it's a puppet.
Because I was like, man, that guy is really scared. Ah, they shot that backwards.
Yeah, they shot it backwards. They filmed
Yeah.
that. So they had the needle in the eye. They
Already,
pulled it
yeah.
out, and then they panned down the actual body of the creature effect. And Stan Winston was upset because he thought they were going to do a long take, and they ended up cutting it up, and he felt like that was kind of against what he'd done with the puppet. But after he saw the movie again, he's like, it worked. But I mean, that's a wonderful death too. Like, that's so creepy, and like I said, just just having the needle shoved in the eye right there, just looking at that is such a, horrible.
It's a great. I mean, 80s were great for kills. That's a great 80s slasher kill.
Yeah, it is. Seeing that dead body there. Ugh. All right, single shot. This is a single shot in the movie. Watch
That's
how they go
right.
through the door. I thought this was pretty cool.
Her outfit's amazing.
She is gorgeous.
Like a predecessor to Carmen Sandiego.
Really, man.
Honey, I'm home.
I just love this. And then you back down the hallway a little bit and go into the
Dude,
next room.
genius. How did they say how they got that through the fucking door?
They just pulled it through the window there. There's no glass.
Oh, okay. There wasn't glass in it.
Honey, I'm sorry I'm late.
All right, house chase. This one's a little bit longer, but I did enjoy it. And like I said, at first I thought it was going to be kind of crappy. And like as a whole, like nothing really happens other than the silhouettes in the windows. But it seemed to work. I don't know. It built tension.
It's pretty creepy. It's just frustrating watching how fucking dumb the family is.
Yeah, why would you go into a house? So this is the house where it happens at, though. I like that idea. That this is the house that, like, even though it's abandoned, this is where they murdered.
Welcome to Potter's Bluff.
Welcome to Potter's Bluff.
And I love that they're never running after him. They're just kind of moseying along. Here we go.
They know they got him.
And did you notice something? There's a screw up there.
What happened?
The hitchhiker is in the scene with them.
Yes, that's why I
into a zombie yet. She hasn't been turned into, so they originally had planned this to be after the hitchhiker.
Right, she's right there. She's the one that knocks on the. See if we can get her. Welcome to Potter's Bluff again. So now when people say that, I don't know what they're talking about. Right there she is.
Here she comes. There she is. Yep.
Yep. Now this was
cool
I had zero idea what was going on when they ripped off the wig.
Oh, okay.
Right here. I was so confused by that. I actually rewound the movie to watch it again because I was like, why did they rip off half of her hair? And so it wasn't until about 20, 30 minutes later when I got the explanation there. I was like, oh, okay. So I was completely gone on that. And whenever you see the arm, which we're about to see, I was just like, are they vampires? What's the story? You know what I mean? So there was good misdirection in this. About the 40-minute mark, like I said, where I became more into the film.
The shit starts to go down, you know, when stuff starts to, especially for me, it's when the guy they burned alive, when he shows up at the gas station working.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, what's happening? Witchcraft. I thought this was a pretty good little line here, and they give away what's going on in the movie. Oh, wait, sorry, this isn't it. This is when he bitches at her about it. He yells at his wife a lot.
He just gaslights the shit out of him. Oh, honey.
What the hell are you doing with these?
It's for my class. I'm going to give a lecture in witchcraft.
Witchcraft?
Not like it's
Why
nothing.
in God's name would you want to teach him that?
Kids love creepy things.
Not wrong.
Being bored in my class.
You could rub my doorknob anyhow.
They do not.
Zombies.
Look.
Why didn't she do more, man? She was amazing in this and Flash Gordon.
Was she in Flash Gordon?
Yeah, dude. She was
the love interest.
Love interest in Flash.
She's absolutely beautiful. And acting the hell out of this. Super talented.
You like how it seems like the husband like has renewed his faith in her. He's like,
right, because
this is the girl I fell in love with.
Yeah, and he's like, you know, she's good with kids, which is something they always say. You know, what I mean?
This definitely isn't the girl that fucked me in an abandoned house and then stabbed me in the back. A bunch of people filmed.
Literally, snuffed
which
me,
I'm down
snuffed
with
me.
also.
Now, although that they are conventionally dead, they're capable of very closely imitating the living.
Jessup's favorite part. I called it. I called it.
Fucking beautiful, man. That girl had a very weird pig nose too.
I like it.
Oh, I
This
also love the music he listens to. That old timey big.
Oh
band
yeah,
music.
we forgot to mention that. Like he listens to like ragtag and
Yeah.
like
The music that you
Zydeco.
would hear at the
Yeah.
end of The Shining.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And I thought that was cool in the first scene when they introduced him. He's playing the music so loud
Yeah.
the sheriff can't talk to him. Like that's kind of his thing. All right, I kept the whole shot pretty much from. I just thought it was such a cool shot. Like that's a puppet.
Yep.
That's
Well, what's
prosthetic.
interesting about the music is it's playing that old timey music in the background with the theatrical music too.
Right.
It's very unsettling. God, that
Look
puppet
up,
is so
up, up.
fucking good.
Oh, boom. The hair is the exact same when they roll her out a frame, the puppet here, and they roll the actual actress in. That's what sold it for me, other than it looking so real. You know what I mean?
Another masterpiece, complete and beautiful.
Boom.
So good.
More murder, but it's not as good. And the reason why is it's not Stan Winston murder.
Yeah, what are you doing? That's acid. No, don't.
It's still fun to watch.
Stop it. No. Don't do it. No.
Yeah, that's pretty bad puppet.
Yeah, it doesn't look real.
Oh no, they're killing a mannequin.
That's Glenn Morshower again.
All right. What's up, Glenn?
The heart, unwrapping the heart. Just a creepy little scene. Something about seeing.
This scene felt like it went on forever.
Yeah.
For me,
To
I was like,
open up the casket.
yeah.
Just fucking open the casket already.
Yeah, the heart. 8mm. I don't know if that's 8mm or not. I just put that in. Oh, you did.
Oh, you're watching a snuff film right now, bro.
Yep.
You're watching.
Oh,
your
it's so
stuff.
creepy the way they just come in and start staring at him.
No, I thought this movie was about to take a really, really hot turn for a second.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, all
It almost
right.
had the black and white almost has a Night of the Living Dead feel to it.
Yes. There she is. No.
This also has almost like an Angel Heart feel too, where he's like on this mission to try to find out something, and it's him at the end.
You know what? His arms are really hairy. He could have just traced that those were his hairy arms.
I've got a golden ticket.
Good evening, Constable.
All right, awesome. It just looks awesome.
The clicking sounds.
This part reminded me kind of a lot of a Blade Runner.
Look at my children.
Yeah.
It's just so cool looking.
God. They had to be disfigured. Don't you see? I have to make them look like they used to look. That's my
That makes no sense.
He's monologuing. He's basically telling him, "Hey, I have to make him as fucked up as possible so I can have a challenge when I'm putting him back."
Right. Yeah. Buried because dead.
Now, what's fucked up about this though is isn't she still alive even though she's buried?
Well, here's my thought. Whenever he shoots her, maybe he brings her out of the voodoo spell, and she realizes she's dead and she wants to be back in the ground where she's supposed to be. That's all I can figure out because
dark. I like that.
and that's what I was thinking. Like I was like, holy shit! Like she has a realization of what's going on, and that's why he allows it. Now I did this scene because the dirt that she piles on her face is completely different looking than the dirt he's throwing in.
Love you, Dad.
Oh yeah. That's you're right. You're right, Jay. That's the fucking movie poster.
Yeah. Potting soil is what that is. Look at that. All right, the end, which is great.
There's one more thing you should know, Dan.
Grandpa Joe. He's so good at screaming.
Come, Dan. Let me fix those for you.
The end.
That is such a Twilight Zone ending too. You know, the way the camera freezes and just that line. Come, Dan, let me fix those for you.
Absolutely.
No happy ending there, kids.
Don't. I mean, does he go on Does he go on bury his wife and go on living? Does he become part of the?
I think what happens. I think the mortician guy erases his memory again, and then it's almost like Dark City, where he's the newspaper reporter guy, or he does something else, and it's like Dark City, where he just rearranges these characters and they have little adventures.
That's how you remake this movie, but you do it instead of doing it in a small town. You do it through like a simulation, and you make the mortician the leader of the computer simulation, and that's how you do it. That's some version of that.
Well, I am so close to being 100% believing that we're just in a simulation anyway.
Oh, we are.
I full on believe that. I support that movie.
Yep. All right, guys, Dead and Buried, another one in the books. Do we have any recommendations? I didn't have any. Jay already recommended 3 to 4 movies that were pretty close to this, or at least took inspiration. But do you guys have anything else?
I would just like to recommend season 1 of Black Mirror, because this movie reminds me of kind of like a Black Mirror type of episode. And so I think it's called The Bear, the one where people are taking pictures. So I would recommend that episode in the season 1 of Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's got a pretty sweet twist ending too. I like that a lot. How about you, Jay? You got any recommendations?
No, nothing more than what I've already said. I think it's pretty much, right in the same vein.
Out of those 3, The Fog, Phantasm, and what was the third one? I apologize.
Wicker Man.
Which one would you suggest the most?
Wicker Man.
Oh, I put him on the spot. He likes them all. We were talking about the Wicker Man this weekend.
Yeah, it all depends on what you want. If you want a movie probably most similar in tone, you'd go with the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
But if you want like a fucking wild ride, you got to go with Phantasm.
Phantasm is so fucking bonkers, man. It is so insane. I love it. It's visually insane. That the Thin Man is one of the greatest 80s movie villains of all time. But man, it's a fucking insane movie.
Well, it's because I know we're gonna do Phantasm at some point. We just have to, but it is a movie that is shot like a dream.
Yeah.
Yep. And some of it, I guess, in the way this movie becomes a bit of a dream-like state, it becomes to the point where they literally took they didn't want any red in the scenes.
That's
so
right.
The back of the cars, they actually made the taillights purple, so that they wouldn't have red in the scenes.
And this movie was on the Video Nasties in the UK. It made
no shit.
Yeah,
I didn't even think it was that bad.
Not for very, very long though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I heard it's dead on the Video Nasties. Let's talk about this and that. And these are.
I'm sure it was the guy getting the needle in the eye. I'm sure that.
Yeah.
I get. You know what? I'm so desensitized. You're right. It is rather brutal because I'm sitting there going "What's so bad in this movie?"
Well,
nah.
I think it also might be because of the voyeuristic murder scenes are very disturbing. And if you take yourself out of 2021 and you go back to 1980s. And you're watching this for the first time, especially that the black and white scenes at the end, when it shows people just straight up killing people, even though it's black and white, you're not seeing gore. It's very voyeuristic and very
visceral.
Yeah, very visceral, man.
On that note, David, I do have one more recommendation.
Yes.
Francis Ford Coppola's Body Double.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what's that movie about?
It's just it's a movie a lot about videos and whatnot, and it stars Craig Wasson from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, and it's just it's
almost like Hitchcockian, right? It's like a
it's so 80s.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most, but it deals very much with voyeurism, and it's also kind of like what's real, what's not kind of thing, and it's definitely one of those fun, just a fun little 80s thriller where you're trying to figure out there's a killer and whatnot, but it goes very much in line with the whole voyeuristic side.
Cool. All right, David, where can they find you on the internet?
Facebook at Stop Motion Nightmares, Instagram at Children of Dave. And if you're in Dallas, come to Curiosities on Lakewood and Curious Garden by White Rock Lake and come see my creepy shit.
Right on. And you can find us at wearepodcast.podbean.com, where we have all the podcasts on there. Come check them out. You can go to our social media at or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /wearepodcast. I put up my WAP and reviews videos on there, so please watch those if you get a chance. And you can watch us every Monday at 8 p.m. while we talk Camp /Horrorcast live on Twitch, of course. Yes, next week will be Lit the Right One In. We're watching the original Swedish version.
Awesome.
Yes. So that'll be next week. That is Javi's pick. So hopefully he will be here. With that said, we hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Guys, thank you for being here. And we will see you next week.
Keep horror in your heart.
Oh, yeah, I always forget. Keep horror in your heart. Got to keep that horror in your heart. There's just so much more other stuff going on. But yeah, boom. Oh, dude, that's a great fucking dab it down. All right, guys, thank you so much again. Let me kill this feed.
I was wrong, guys. It was Brian De Palma who directed
That's
Body
right.
Double.
That's right.
And there it is. Thank you again so much for checking out the podcast today. If you enjoyed it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes, and give We Are Podcast Network a like. And since this is Camp /Horrorcast, if you want to check us out live, we will be on Twitch and YouTube every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time. You can find us at twitch.tv /We Are Podcast Network and youtube.com /We Are Podcast Network. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, you're going to love the other podcasts here on the We Are Podcast Network. We have We Are Air, where we talk movies, entertainment, whatever the fuck we want to talk about. That's me, that's Jake, and that's Javi. We're breaking down that pop culture, and we're having so much fun. And don't forget to check out We Are Bagu, a video game podcast, where we talk Atari to Steam and everything in between. That's me and Dr. Ethan Eastwood breaking down all that video game lore, heroes, Gyros, a Dungeons and Distractions side quest. Me and the boys were playing some D&D. You can start that one from Season 1, Episode 1. It's a blast the whole way through. And I Hate Being Sober. Personal stories from epic people. I sit down with some of my favorite people of all time. We talk about their trials, their tribulations, and their journey this far. Also, check the links in the description for our social media. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast Network. With that said, hopefully we see you in the live stream.